The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
And welcome, everybody, on this Monday night. So, look, I am not for firing people, even comedians that make really, really bad jokes that obviously weren't meant to be funny. But Jimmy Kimmel, I'm not going to say I'm going to make an exception, but I can understand why now he's a distant third place on ABC. He's just so insufferable, so pious, and so, not funny. I don't know how he keeps a job, quite frankly. And on Friday night, he did a fake White House Correspondents Dinner where he was the comedian because he was upset that no comedians were going to be there to roast Trump, even though we had Oz, the mentalist, who is the most incredible entertainer that I have ever seen. And I'm not exaggerating on that. This guy can basically read your mind. And one time when I was on Fox and Friends during the commercial, he was the guest. And he's like, "Oh, Joe, I watch you, love you, I go, "Oz, I don't know how you do it." He goes, let's try this out on you. I said, "All right, great." He says, "Go into your phone and scroll through all your contacts. Don't show me the phone. Scroll through the phone." And he goes, "Just stop on any name right now." Great. I stop on it. It's some random producer that contacts me maybe once every couple of months for a show I'm not on very often. And then he was able to guess the exact name of the person that I had scrolled through something like 650 contacts on my phone. And it was like a unique name too. It wasn't like John, So I'm like, this is incredible. And he can do this where he can get the pin for your ATM, who your first crush was. NFL teams hire him just as some entertainment between practices, just to, team bonding kind of thing, right? So Oz would have been an incredible host of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and he may still be, considering that Trump wants us to continue in about 30 days, and we'll get to that in a moment. So Kimmel's all mad that a comedian's not going to be there like him. He considers himself to be a comedian, not the activist that he is. He would like him or a Colbert or Seth Meyers, that sort of person, just go there and just go off on Trump for 45 minutes straight. The same Jimmy Kimmel, who has not told one joke about his soulmate, Eric Swalwell, who is now accused by multiple women of outright rape and had to drop out of the California governor's race, also is no longer a congressman. Swalwell announced on Kimmel's show that he was running for governor. And obviously those two are tight, because why else would you do it on a place like that? And Kimmel couldn't be any happier to help his friend. And now, well, I guess Kimmel's line of humor is to not ever, ever attack a Democrat, even once. And he hasn't had a Republican on his show not named Liz Cheney in years. But, that's comedy for Jimmy Kimmel, only attacking one side. Anyway, the reason why I say this, Kimmel tells a joke on Friday night as the fake White House Correspondents' Dinner MC. And he says that to Melania Trump, and they show a video of Melania as if she's watching him. She says, "Oh, Melania's here, so beautiful. You have the glow of an expectant widow." Oh, so now we're calling for somebody to try to assassinate Trump again. Again, this is before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I think we have the cut here, guys. Let's play cut number 16. 16, go.
Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
And you hear all the laughter after that? Oh, that's funny. Why is she an expectant widow? I wonder. Trump is working harder than anybody on the planet right now. Seems to have plenty of energy, seems to be in very good health. Why else would you say something like that unless, you're basically calling on the maniacs out there in a dog whistle to try to take out Trump again? And sure enough, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner at the Washington Hilton, I went a couple of years ago, somehow a gunman, crazed lunatic, had a rifle, had a handgun, had knives on him. He registered as a guest at the hotel and then hid in a room near where the White House Correspondents Dinner was going on and ran through security by the Secret Service. They were able to stop him before he got to the ballroom, but his plan was to maximize casualties, starting with the president. And then think about all the people that were in that room. Since the inauguration, I can't think of this many cabinet members all in the same place at the same time. You're talking about the president. You're talking about the first lady. You're talking about the vice president, J.D. Vance. You're talking about the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, EPA, Lee Zeldin, and finally, am I missing anybody? Yes, the FBI Director, Kash Patel, all in one place, on top of all these other journalists, so-called, that were in the room. So this could have been catastrophic. And the guy's name is Cole Thomas Allen, facing life in prison, facing 3 counts for attempted shooting spree at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Also charges an attempt to assassinate the president. So yeah, he's gone for life, you would hope. Then again, John Hinckley's out, and he tried to kill Reagan. Guess where? At the Washington Hilton. Bad karma around that place. So Kimmel says this as far as Melania Trump is concerned. And remember, this is the same Kimmel that a couple of years ago decided to mock the accent of Melania Trump when she was first lady during Trump's first term. I'm not big on going after first ladies, while they're first lady. Like Michelle Obama now has an absolutely unlistenable podcast now, so it's fair game to criticize the podcast. But when she was in office, all the stuff about Michelle being Michael and she's actually a man, I never liked that stuff. I never liked it when they went after Laura Bush. It's beneath, I would think, most people with some sort of dignity. The president, fine, that's part of the contract. Any politician, but the first lady, leave them alone. But Kimmel has this weird thing with Melania Trump because he has such TDS that it extends over to her. So Melania now has responded, as she should, by the way, calling on Kimmel to be fired. And I would hope that maybe not fired. I'm not saying, I don't think he should be on the air, just based on the numbers alone, being a distant third, where every night his show costs something like almost $1 million to produce. Think about this. It's a guy at a desk talking to a guest sitting next to him, basically, outside of the monologue. That's basically the show. Why does that cost $1 million? Why does Jimmy Kimmel need 150 staffers? And just like Colbert loses $40 million a year, why, if you're ABC and Disney, you put up with this? The return on investment's horrible. The PR is horrible. When he says things like this, you have the glow of an expectant widow. Again, I'm trying to find the humor here. And the only thing is, I guess, is that he wants Trump dead. What else is there? And if there's humor in that, I don't quite follow it. I don't care. You're a Republican, a Democratic president. No one should wish that on the leader of the country. Anyway, here is the statement from the First Lady. Quote, Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy, correct. His words are corrosive, and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Trump shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. A coward, Kimmel hides behind ABC because he knows the network will keep running cover to protect him, she continued. Enough is enough. It's time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community? Now, here is a prediction for you. At 11:30 tonight on ABC, I can guarantee you, as sure as you were born, as sure as the Jets will not make the playoffs again this year, as sure as the Mets will not make the playoffs this year, that Kimmel will absolutely make himself the victim. That's what he does. May even cry a little bit. He tends to do that on this show from time to time, especially after Trump won. Really cried after that in 2024. And he's going to say something along the lines of, and I'll be happy to play this tape back and then play back what he says tonight, that the Trumps are attacking my First Amendment right to free speech. I'm just a comedian making jokes, and they, just like the Soviets or North Korea or any fascist, any authoritarian, wants to take me off the air and take away my right to speak, and I won't allow it to happen because that ain't America. And they'll all cheer. That's exactly how this is going to go. And then the media will portray him as a victim again, like they did after he said, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, that it was somebody from the MAGA camp that carried it out, which it obviously was not. Charlie was one of Trump's biggest supporters and allies. Why would somebody from MAGA try to take out Trump? And obviously now all the evidence since then shows that this was a furry, loving, trans-loving liberal who hated Charlie's stances against the trans community and therefore, well, instead of debating him like Charlie did with everybody, shot him in the neck, executed him at Utah Valley University on September 10th, and took him out. Erica Kirk, meanwhile, was at the White House Correspondents Dinner. You could see her being taken out of the room by security and clearly was crying. And she said, I just want to go home. Yeah, she's got two very young kids there. And I haven't seen it yet, but Candace Owens probably will mock her for that. Saying, see, she's making it about herself. She's making herself to make it. It's about me, me, me. The same Candace Owens who thinks that Charlie was assassinated as an inside job by Turning Point USA with Erica Kirk being an accomplice after the fact. It's just gross, gross stuff. Anyway, what can you say about what happened on Saturday night? Well, for starters, this absolutely, positively justifies the need for a White House ballroom. Because the Washington Hilton, all right, again, I was at the event a couple of years ago. I've been there other times. It's your typical very, very large hotel in the middle of a city in Washington, 19th Street, so center of town, let's call it. And that night during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, there were also 2 weddings going on, parties going on. Place holds more than 1,000 rooms. And you're going to put the president, vice president, secretary of state, secretary of war, FBI director, first lady, press secretary, all in the same place where obviously there's a lot of moving parts there. I'm sorry, you can't hold events like this anymore with that many cabinet members in a hotel that obviously has some serious security holes. And there was also a member of Code Pink that was able to disguise herself, put on a party gown, and was just able to walk right into the ballroom so she could protest and start yelling at Donald Trump. How did you get by security? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's got to be there. When I went, there were layers from what I understand. Like, block away, you go through something, 2 blocks away. And then finally, when you get into the place, you go through, obviously, a metal detector, and you have to show like a specific laminated ticket in order, and that does get scanned with a QR code. Apparently, these things did not happen outside of the metal detector, which wasn't much. I've been to sporting events. So the Yankees, I was at the Bananas game yesterday at Yankee Stadium, where I feel like, probably more security was around. And this was a place with, again, the president and many of his cabinet members in there. So, yeah, let's build that ballroom and get that done already. But there are judges that are blocking it from happening over and over again. Trump also wants bulletproof glass there as well. A bunch of things. And it's justified completely and totally. Why not have these things at the White House? And then even when we have things like state dinners, you have guests, foreign dignitaries that are forced to go outside in tents on grass. Really? The United States? We can't host a party properly? If there's one thing we do well, I would think that would be it. Meanwhile, the reactions from some in the media, exactly what you would expect. Instead of people just being normal and saying things that you should say here, that this is horrible, this can't happen again, 3 times. Let's put it this way. How many times has Vladimir Zelensky, how many assassination attempts have occurred with him? And he's at war with Russia in his country, with assassins trained to kill him. The answer is 0. How many other world leaders, like Donald Trump, have been targeted 3 times, including when Trump was actually shot the first time in Butler, Pennsylvania, grazed in the air, would have been killed, head blown off on national television if he doesn't turn his head at exactly the right moment to read a chart that he never has before. And then obviously in West Palm Beach at Trump International, he's approaching the 6th hole. There's a guy who's with some military training, pointing a long rifle through a fence. Absolutely would have taken Trump out because there's nowhere to hide. There is no cover on a golf green. Fortunately, stuck it out too soon. Secret Service agent notices it, was able to start firing, and they were eventually able to have Ryan Ruth, the gunman, run off, and they were eventually able to catch him after he hid 18 hours in a sniper's nest. And no one bothered to walk the perimeter of the golf course to see, hey, let's make sure the president is, or at this time he was candidate Trump, the most targeted person on the planet, is secure. And no one bothered to do that to the point where he's able to hide there for 18 hours. Or Thomas Crooks in Butler was able to hide a rifle behind an air conditioner, and no one walked around the one building that had line of sight. Because remember, this is an open field out in Butler, Pennsylvania, outside of a building that was about 150 yards away. And Crooks was not only able to hide the rifle there, not only able to fly a drone over that Butler field that day, but also was able to get on top of the building where agents should have been, the one place they should have been, because, again, it's a 2-inch putt with no break with the scope from 150 yards out. And again, it would have been a perfect shot if Trump doesn't turn his head at that exact moment. So you get to a point where you think, is this incompetence or is something else in play? Because there are no coincidences. I believe Freud said that. And again, for the third time, we suddenly have a security lapse so well? Or is there something else in play here? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I could do math, and 3 assassination attempts on the same person within 21 months is absolutely insane. Well, what can you say about Ana Navarro? Of course, The View is going to have this view on what happened on Saturday night. And here is Ozempic Anna talking about how people think that maybe this shooting was staged, I guess, to distract people from Epstein and the Iran war or something, because Trump lies, and therefore, if Trump's life is in danger, well, maybe Trump's lying about that, and therefore maybe it is staged or something. I mean, it's so incoherent, it's impossible to describe beforehand. This is cut number 1. Go.
It's odd to me that in a place that is teeming with Secret Service, with Washington, D.C. police, with all sorts of law enforcement, this could happen. But also, I think people jump to that conclusion that it is staged because Trump lies. He lies constantly, daily, and pathologically. So people do not trust and do not believe anything Trump says. His lips are moving. The likelihood
We're
is
good. Yeah, I can't listen to it anymore. This person gets paid very, very good money by ABC and CNN for hot takes like that. So people believe it's staged because Trump lies. That's your takeaway from all this? Ugh. And this is under, just a reminder, the ABC News umbrella. The View is. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Back with so much more in this story and so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Born on America's darkest day of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has helped America's heroes ever since. Heroes like United States Army Sergeant William Bernard McKenna, who enlisted after 9/11 and served 2 tours in Iraq. Exposed to burn pits, McKenna later died from T-cell lymphoma, leaving his wife Dina and daughters Caitlin and Sabrina. Tunnel to Towers honored Sergeant McKenna by paying off the family's mortgage in honor of his sacrifices. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org today.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, Donald Trump on 60 Minutes last night, so less than 24 hours after another attempt on his life. He sat down with Norah O'Donnell, and here she is talking about how the shooter, the suspect, actually attended a No Kings protest, I guess, to protest against Trump, and Trump has the perfect answer to this. This is cut number 6. Go.
He had attended a No Kings protest in California.
No Kings. Yeah.
What did security tell you about what may have been his motives?
The reason you have people like that is you have people doing no kings. I'm not a king. What I am, if I was a king, I wouldn't be dealing with you.
If I was a king, I wouldn't be dealing with you. Precisely. Kings don't do long interviews. Kings aren't the most accessible leaders in the history of their respective countries. And in Donald Trump's case, he is the most accessible, transparent leader we have ever had, period. This is Joe Concha. Concha at Night. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
So this was hilarious. Jamie Raskin, Democrat, Maryland, horrible human being, was on with Dana Bash Sunday morning when this exchange happened where Dana asked Raskin, hey, all this heated rhetoric that you're throwing at Trump, maybe it's time to cool it down. And he played completely dumb and not very well, I might add. Cut number 19, go.
You have, and as many of your fellow Democrats, have used some heated rhetoric against the president. And do you think twice about that when it happens?
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Well, just talking about some of the fact that he, is terrible for this country and so on and so forth. I understand that that's your democratic right, but overall, do you have a responsibility?
Personal problem with Donald Trump.
Oh, you have no personal problem with Donald Trump. You led the impeachment against him twice, you freak. And Dana Bash, by the way, don't because you say he's terrible for the country, blah, blah, blah. Did you prepare for this show, Dana? Seriously. You have to have specific examples, sound bites at the ready to play back in Raskin's face and let him defend that. Tim Russert and his producing team on NBC's Meet the Press way back when were very, very good at that. And you didn't have an example to throw at him. It's an hour show on a Sunday. Get in a little early and prep. It's worth it. Believe me. Anyway. Examples? I prep for you guys listening out there. Let's put it this way. This thing goes on for 6 minutes and 17 seconds for the sake of it's radio. We can't play sound bites for too long, but I'll give you a minute 15 of Democrats invoking political violence against President Trump. It really was easy to put together. Dana, cut number 13, go.
I challenge somebody to go and find a clip of a Democrat invoking violence.
Let's extinguish him for good.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
We're going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets.
When they go low, we're going to bury them below the Capitol. That's what we're going to do.
We take them to the mud and choke them out.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
We're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire. We're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
By taking behind the gym and beat the hell out of them.
Now punch back, kick back, dunk over their heads, and win some power.
Fight back, punch back, and make sure that they stay down. And you know what? Kick them when they're down because they deserve it.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching.
We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off. And I say, bring it on.
We are not only going to punch you back, but we are going to knock you out.
Like we're in a war right now to save this country, and so you have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save the country.
That's Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat, Connecticut. You have to do whatever is necessary to win this war and take this country back. Whatever's necessary. Does that mean, shooting and killing people, Chris? They know exactly what they're saying. They know exactly what they want the end result to be. And don't tell me, they're talking within a political prism or realm. Nope. It is to find enough people out there, and trust me, they're there, who will hear that and say, okay, do whatever it takes. Got it. Got my orders. Let's move forward. And this will not be the last assassination attempt against President Trump. Not even close. And even after he leaves office, it won't matter until the job is done. And Democrats will say, well, if you had the chance to take out Hitler, wouldn't you have done it? Isn't the country better as a result? May not say it out loud, but they'll certainly say it in places you don't want to talk about at parties. Let's put it that way. Anyway, we can go on and on, by the way, with the, Democrats talking about political violence against President Trump. We can also, by the way, point to the media as well. And that includes, we played Kimmel before, saying that Melania Trump had the glow of an expectant widow. Obviously, in other words, like, good, Trump's going to die soon, one way or the other, Jimmy, right? And obviously now facing tremendous blowback over that, which he will love because, again, he's the center of attention. He's like Jimmy Acosta, except in late night. Anyway, here is Saturday Night Live. Okay. Michael Che making a joke that, wouldn't it be hilarious if, Trump went to the theater and was assassinated like Abraham Lincoln? Nope, it really happened. And this is only 3 weeks ago. Cut number 14, go.
President Trump attended the opening night of Chicago at the Kennedy Center, and I think that's cool that the president is going to the theater. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
Yay! All right, and then Colin Jost next to him, Mrs. Who's that? Scarlett Johansson is his wife? Yeah. Could not be laughing harder. I don't get the jokes around assassinations. I don't remember them during Barack Obama or Joe Biden. Nope. And if you did make a joke like that, then trust me, there would be the usual suspects on the left saying that you have to get off the air because that is unacceptable rhetoric. Not a word out of them now. Mark Ruffalo, Who is that? The Incredible Hulk, I believe. How does that guy play the Incredible Hulk? I'm not quite seeing it. Sorry. Looks like a human broomstick. But anyway, here's Ruffalo just 3 months ago calling Trump a racist pedophile, which, you know, he has a lot of evidence to back that up, of course. This is cut number 4. Go.
The guy is a convicted felon or convicted rapist. He's a pedophile. He's the worst human being in the world. If we're relying on this guy's morality for the most powerful country in the world, then we're all in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Racist pedophile. Yeah. I mean, again, you say this stuff and enough people hear it and be like, we can't have racist pedophiles in this country, leading the country, no less. Dan Goldman of New York, Congressman, the poor man Schiff. Here he is on MSNBC. Not saying that Trump should be beaten at the polls or he should be impeached. Oh, no. He wants Trump outright eliminated. What else could that mean? Cut number 20, go.
It is just unquestionable at this point that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated.
Eliminated. Jen Psaki was the host there, and of course, smiling along, shaking her head. Yeah, of course. The best part is when she left the White House as a press secretary, she goes, "I'm not going to be an opinion person. I'm going to be a journalist." I think she's yet to have a Republican on her show, not named Liz Cheney as well. It's kind of a thing on the left, not actually debating people the way Charlie Kirk did, or many times on Fox. We have more than our share of Democrats on there. Sometimes I hear from you guys saying, how can you have this person on, that person on? Because it's good to have the other side and to shine a light and hold these folks' feet to the fire. Ain't a bad thing. Anyway, Joy Behar here, and we'll get out early on this one, guys, on The View, suggesting that the Trump administration is bad for the country in terms of its policies, but is literally trying to kill everyone. Cut number 24, go.
Yeah, I'm really mad at you, too.
Yeah.
I'm really mad at you.
Sometimes I feel like they're trying to kill us.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, you've got, and Trump just vetoed anything that has to do with climate change that would alleviate the problem. Mm-hmm. And we can see it everywhere that the earth is in a lot of trouble. But
we can get out there. That's fine. I will make this point until the cows come home because I live it, but I'm not a hypocrite. Joy Behar gets a very, very nice SUV gas guzzler, i.e. bad for the planet, kind of vehicle every day that takes her to and from The View. She's not exactly doing what she could to save the environment. A subway could very easily get you to ABC where it is in the city, but she ain't doing that. What are you, Behar in the subway? No shot. Oh, maybe take a scooter, get a little exercise, maybe walk. Nope. SUV. And then when she's out in the Hamptons during the summer, she still has to do the show. Another big SUV picks her up and destroys the environment in the process and taking her to and from that studio, as it does with Sonny Hostin, as it does with Whoopi Goldberg, as it does with Ozempic, Ana Navarro, and anybody else who is on that show. So don't tell me about climate change when you guys are the ones helping to cause it. I guess, but again, I don't know. AOC said in 2018 we only had 12 years left. That means we got less than 4 before the planet, I guess, engulfs itself in flames. Everything seems fine now. Just saying once again. Finally, here we have Representative Cynthia Johnson of Michigan. I know I've never heard of her either, but this is what she had to say, not to Trump, but to everybody who is a Trump supporter. Oh, that's a big problem because now she's going after 77 million people. And here's what she tells her soldiers to do. And it doesn't sound like challenge them to a debate. Let's put it that way. Cut number 25. Go.
This is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
Make them pay. Oh, you can get out there. It's anarchy. Make them pay? Make them pay how exactly? What are we talking about here? Well, maybe she's a fan of Hassan Piker, the new it girl for the Democratic Party. New mascot. New York Times loves him. Gave him a puff piece from Ezra Klein saying Hassan Piker is not the problem. Then put him on a podcast last week hosted by the New York Times where he bragged about how he loves to steal from corporations because they deserve it. And then when asked, hey, would you steal from Zohran Mamdani's supermarkets that are going to be opening, I guess, in a couple of years? No, that's different because that's his BFF. Anyway, here's Hassan Piker, without saying his name, calling for Trump's outright assassination. Hey, at least he gets right to the part that everybody else is thinking on the left. This is cut number 22. Go.
And you actually wrote about this, and it was a great video where you talked about, someone has to do it. See, when I say that, everyone knows exactly what I mean. Which is, I think that shows that there is a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, and untapped potential, untapped revolutionary potential, as a matter of fact. And it's a great opportunity for organizing, I think, in these unprecedented.
Okay. It's for organizing. So take out the opposition through assassination. Somebody has to do it, Hassan Piker says. Again, the same guy who said America deserved 9/11. The same guy who says that Republicans should go out and literally assassinate Rick Scott, senator of Florida, for whatever reason, said that the worst day in the 20th century is when the Soviet Union fell, and has called Jews, quote, inbreds, unquote, while saying that he supports Hamas, the terror organization that carried out the biggest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, says he supports them 1,000 times more than Israel. Yeah, and now we have tape of him calling for the assassination of President Trump. Great. Well, can't wait to see him back on, I guess, Pod Save America, the Obama Bros, soon. Or, he's due for CNN. I mean, it's actually, he was on CNN 2 weeks ago, now that I think about it. So, yeah, he's definitely due to be back on there again. No question. And this will be our last break before we go to, or our last cut before we go to break, guys. This isn't new in the sense where we had Luigi Mangione gunned down, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, 54th and 6th, about 6 blocks north of Fox News headquarters where I work, back in December of 2024, because Luigi didn't like his health care, I guess, even though he went to a private school that was something like $70,000 a year in high school and then went to the University of Pennsylvania, one of the most expensive universities in the country. Apparently, Luigi had to make a statement, so he shot the guy who's a father of 2 boys and a husband in the back and killed him. And then Luigi was eventually arrested at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. And that should have been the end. It should be widespread condemnation and widespread calls for him to at least get the death penalty or spend the rest of his life in prison. And instead, his GoFundMe page has raised well more than $1 million, while there are women that literally fantasize about marrying him one day, or even the AI version of him. This guy has been completely and totally glorified as some sort of hero of the left for standing up to the healthcare industry, I guess. And the funny thing is, not funny, but the sad thing is that he didn't even have United Healthcare as his healthcare provider, yet he took out the CEO anyway, I guess to make a statement. Is that how we do things now? Taylor Lorenz, who I used to work with at The Hill way back when, she goes on, ding, 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 CNN with Donnie O'Sullivan, and they laugh it up how, it's really hard to find a morally good man, but Luigi Mangione to so many women may be that guy. And they laugh. This is days after Thompson's not even buried yet. And this is the kind of conversations that younger people are having on national television after somebody gets murdered in cold blood. Cut number 12, go.
Some journalist is actually speaking to the anger that we feel.
The women who gather outside court in New York.
So you're going to see women especially that feel like, oh my God, right? Like here's this man who's revolutionary, who's famous, who's handsome, who's young, who's smart. He's a person that seems this morally good man, which is hard to find.
It's hard to find.
Yeah, I just realized women will literally date an assassin before they swipe right on me. That's where we're at.
Somebody's dead. He was murdered. His kids don't have a father. Widowed. Just like with Charlie Kirk. This is a permission slip for violence. These things happen, and I can guarantee you this shooter, the GoFundMe page will start soon. Guaranteed. Where people say, he's just a victim of the system. He had every right to stand up for himself. There's enough crazy people out there, and it is growing, and it is scary. This is Joe Concha. This is Concha Night. We wrap this sick puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Can't we have just somebody somewhat fair on 60 Minutes? Where is the Mike Wallaces of the world? I know he was tough. I don't think he was left, though. He was, again, Mike Wallace, not Chris Wallace. Let's not get the two confused. But what are the choices? Like Anderson Cooper, Norah O'Donnell, like all these people that otherwise Norah was on MSNBC before she went to CBS. Anderson Cooper, CNN, once called Trump a hot orange turtle flailing in the sun or something, because that's what anchors say, right? Just a complete phony. So anyway, Trump drew the Norah O'Donnell card for his interview on 60 Minutes last night about the attack at the White House Correspondents Dinner. And, well, at least he's Trump, and if he sees something that's completely ridiculous, as what happened here, he will call out a so-called anchor or correspondent like Norah O'Donnell to her face. This is cut number 5. Go.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this, quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people. Horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person.
Right, exactly.
I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and I was
these are
never,
the gunman's words.
Excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace. But go ahead. Let's finish the interview.
The other thing that he wrote in
Yeah, it is disgraceful. Why amplify what a sick person says? It's obvious what his motive was. Oh, by the way, he donated to Kamala Harris's campaign. Did Norah O'Donnell bring that up, by the way? Attended the No Kings rallies. At least she brought that up. But yeah, he is a radical leftist who wanted the president and his cabinet members dead. That's it. You don't have to quote the guy. It's like the Boston bombers. And one of them, the one that survived, they put on the cover of Rolling Stone, made the guy look like a young Bob Dylan. Again, we cannot glorify assassins, but we do it over and over again in this country. And it's absolutely a whole bowl of wrong. Meanwhile, Trump called Jonathan Karl, to make sure that he was okay. This is the ABC correspondent. And then obviously after that, he is absolutely and totally driven here, Trump is, to make sure that this thing goes on in 30 days because he obviously does not want somebody like this to win, this shooter. And as we saw with Trump, he went back to Butler. I mean, that took balls after he got shot there. Anyway, this is cut number 8 before we wrap this puppy up. Go.
John, your phone rang early this morning?
Yeah, my phone rang shortly after 7 a.m. My landline, George, actually a number that few people call, and it was President Trump calling. He said at first he was calling to see if I was okay with what happened last night. Are you okay? And then he reiterated many of the things he said in his press conference last night, emphasizing the unity that he felt in that moment, that he felt at the dinner before the shooting and certainly after with the people who reached out to him. And he said absolutely, and he was quite firm about this, that dinner must be rescheduled. It must be rescheduled. He knows that I was a former president of the White House Correspondents Association and had worked with him on a dinner that never actually happened back during COVID. And he was saying, we've got to get this dinner back on. It has to happen.
I agree with that completely, but it has to happen more like an arena and not a hotel, some sort of standalone kind of place, and not a place where there are multiple parties going on and somebody could register as a guest, hide in a room, and nearly take out the president and many of his cabinet members. Anyway, this has been Concha at Night. We're back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC and on stations around the country. Until then, I got 2 words for you, and you know what they are. Bye. Bye.